Hello, everyone. How's everyone doing? All right, I know it's been past lunch. It's been sort of a long day. I just want to make sure I'm in an AI conference and I'm not talking to AI agents. I promise you, if you convince me that I'm talking to non-AI agents, I'm going to tell you a joke before I walk off the stage. It's going to be an AI joke. All right, let's try this again. How's everyone doing? Good. There you go. So picture a future consultation room. There is a patient or set of patients, a doctor, and there is an invisible presence in that room. There is a colleague of the clinician in that room. Over the next 15 minutes, my talk is going to be about that invisible presence, that invisible colleague of the clinician, and the one thing that needs to happen in that room, a decision. My name is Raja Gudepu. I run a technology company in the States for the last 10 years. We specialize in bringing AI into national security and defense, as well as highly regulated enterprises. And what I'm going to talk about is, like I said, that new colleague, that new presence in the room. So this new presence, this new colleague never went to a medical school, right? However, it read every paper that was published last night while we were all asleep. The only question I think that we need to ask, regarding this invisible presence is who is really in charge of it, right? A quick show of hands. How many of you have used some sort of an AI tool this week, whether it's for a search, whether it's for a summary, a note? Okay, good. Keep those hands up. Keep those hands up. If you have completely trusted what you heard from your AI tool, keep those hands up. Otherwise, you can keep them down. There you go. So that is, the difference between the hands that went up and the hands that stayed up is the gap that we are going to talk about. And that's not something we're going to solve here in this room, but that's the gap everyone is trying to solve. I want to make one distinction very clear. A tool versus an agent, right? Like I asked you, have you used a tool? A tool waits for you to pick it up, right? It's very defined. It takes one step at a time. It could be intelligent, but it answers your question and then it stops, right? Flags a nodule, drafts a note, writes a summary, whatnot. It's like a calculator. An agent, on the other hand, it reasons, it plans, and it takes many tasks, many steps, and it works towards a goal and an outcome. Right? So it books a follow-up or chases a lab, drafts a referral, and whatnot. It's like a junior colleague, right? And this beautiful colleague, never gets tired at 3 a.m. in the morning, right? Unlike our clinicians, unfortunately. But it also is very confidently and beautifully wrong at 3 a.m. in the morning, right? So your whole job is knowing which one you're talking to. Now, let me ground us in some reality and how fast our industry is moving. AI-enabled medical devices, the FDA cleared in 2025, were the most in history. Over 1,300 are now authorized in total, and 258 of those were just authorized in 2025 alone. But the asterisk that matters is almost all of these tools that were authorized were narrow imaging tools, not autonomous agents. The agent is still arriving. People are working on it. I think we have had multiple talks up until now that talks about the risks of an agent getting wrong, especially in a setting like a hospital. It's not yet running the room. However, the industry is betting big, right? 80% of healthcare executives expect agentic and generative AI to deliver real results this year. And not just Gen AI, even agentic AI. So the technology is ahead of trust. The trust is ahead of rules. And that messy gap in between is where people in this room need to lead. So what does that shift really mean, right, for the clinician and also for the people that build this technology, if there are technologists in this room? The first one is you move from recall to synthesis. Right? What that means is the agent holds the whole chart, the latest guideline, and all of that at once, the patient's records, everything at once. You stop from being a database, and you become a judgment. The second one is you move from reactive to proactive, right? The agent surfaces the deterioration, the missed follow-ups, the interaction before you go looking. The decisions are all moving towards the left, faster decision making. And the last one, and this is something that I think is the most applicable in a country like ours, is it helps you move from scarcity to scale. It does not replace the specialist by no means, right, who is absent. It helps the one doctor that is present carry that load of 3 doctors. So this ratio here, 1:1,456, that is the doctor to patient ratio across rural India, well above the World Health Organization's benchmark. 2/3 of our people are rural. About 1/4 of our doctors serve them, right? So with the rise of agents, by no means the agent is ever going to replace the doctor who is not there. It only helps the one who is there carry the load of 3. And that is the scale we are talking about. And there is only one way we can achieve that, and that is with AI. So now the clinicians start to ask, right? Or maybe you guys are already asking, if the agent is wrong, who is responsible, right? If you have your performance review and you get a bunch of things wrong, would you say, hey, it's not my fault, it's my agent's fault? Don't think so. The agent will not sign the chart, the clinician will, right? Autonomy doesn't transfer accountability. So how do we, move into, an area where when you are accountable for things, what are the things that you need to understand so that you don't lose that accountability? You're not there to use the agent, right? You're there to define what right means, break it before the patient does, and make it show its work every single time. Those are the 3 words I want you to remember: define, break, and verify. And before you think about how to solve these problems, there are 2 failure modes in the world of AI that is important to understand. One is errors, the second is hallucinations. I'm sure you guys have heard of that. But just to ground everyone on what they are, errors mean agents had all the right information, but still got the response wrong, right? The difference around that is to have real good test cases, guardrails, continuous monitoring. Hallucinations are very interesting. It completely invented something that did not exist, and it sounds plausible. A lab value that was never measured, a guideline that did not exist, or even a paper citation which was never published, right? So the difference to hallucinations is to force it to point to its source all the time, every time. So the 3 jobs, right? Define the job, and in that instance, before you code, narrow it ruthlessly so that, because a focused agent hallucinates far less. Don't make it broad, right? And then break it, right? Use the most extreme test cases of your most atypical patients and the hardest ones so that, you test all the edge scenarios. Reward I don't know over a confident wrong guess, because you're better off if your agent tells you, hey, I don't know the answer, versus telling you something it just invented. And then keep watching it, right? Because the monitoring would never stop. There is no such thing as my agent has reached a point where I don't have to worry about. And the biggest danger in this world of agentic AI is your own complacency, right? If we become complacent, that, hey, everything is going on well, there will be a time when something will go wrong, and in this industry, you cannot afford anything to go wrong. So I asked the builders the same questions, and also remember the 3 same things, right? As you're building these solutions on agentic AI for hospitals, ask, can you show me its source? Source doesn't mean source code. Doctors don't need to see source code, right? Show me its source means what requirements went into it. What did you ask it to do? Not just what you asked it to do, what did you ask it not to do, right? And then, can I see where it failed in tests? And the third thing is, what does it do when it is unsure? If they can't answer all these 3 questions, it's not ready for your patients. So to conclude, the clinician is the conductor, right? And the agents are the orchestra that are playing the notes. You decide what music gets made, and you answer for the performance. And to end it, I just want to say the only question that matters is, are you directing it, or is it directing you? And just so I'm sure I talk to humans and not agents, that's the end of the talk. So can I go? All right, I promised one joke. How much time do I have? All right. So this is something I heard from one of my friends, so I'm not going to take full credit for it. There's a very famous doctor, and this doctor has 2 children. The oldest one, not so bright, youngest one, very bright. And the oldest one, in his 8th grade, brings home a report card. The doctor looks at it. Then this doctor is very famous. He looks at his biology marks, and he sees 100. And the doctor had some doubt in his mind. He thinks, my oldest son is dumb. He cannot get 100 in biology. I know that for a fact. I'm a doctor. And he asks his son, hey, son, did you put a 0 beside the 10? And the son goes, no, daddy. Okay. And then time moves on. The son goes, lands a good job, not a doctor, a different job, a software engineer, right? I mean, software engineers are a little dumber. And then he asks him, look, this is great, congratulations, but this one question is bothering me. Did you put a 0 beside that 10? And the son says, no, daddy. Okay. And then the son gets married, time goes on. On the wedding day, everyone is happy, the dad is still struggling. He says, son, did you put a 0 beside that 10? It's like, no, daddy, I got married, let me celebrate. And then time goes on, he has children, the dad keeps asking that same question. Now, fast forward 25 years. The dad is, unfortunately, on his deathbed. And everyone is happy, all his children are settled, grandparents, grandchildren, the whole deal. And then he looks at his son in his deathbed and says, look, I've been very happy all my life. The only thing that is still nagging me is that one thing. I know you did not get 100 in your biology because you are not that smart. Did you put a 0 beside that 10? Please answer me before I die so I can die peacefully. And the son says, Dad, I put a 10 beside a 0. So make sure your prompts are right, okay? Because it'll tell you the right answer. It's not necessarily the correct answer. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Raj. Kindly stay on the dais. We'll have the panel if you have any questions. You ended on time, Mr. Raj. Bang on time. Did you put a 0 before that?
So, fantastic presentation. Can you tell the audience, like you talked about the agents, where are the highest number of digital process workers being deployed, which industry? And if that can be more relevant here, in what are the domains, if you've seen in your personal experience, that'll be wonderful.
Sure. I think across the board, the adoption of AI has accelerated across all industries. It really depends on the criticality of the workflows. And what we have been seeing is that organizations are still trying to move from, I think someone talked about this, the POC to production. We call it the pilot purgatory because everyone tries to do pilots, no one moves beyond. And the reason is everyone is worried about the security of the system, right? And in a healthcare setting, it's even more dangerous. What we have been seeing is the adoption of AI across retail, which is probably the maximum that we are seeing. Believe it or not, there is a lot of AI being done, implementations done in defense that we serve back in the States. Healthcare for sure. But the criticality of the workflows that AI is being used for is, I wouldn't say at a mission critical level just yet, at scale, right? So they are getting there, but I would say it is at the lowest level of criticality. So things like billing workflows are being automated, and billing and finance is generally across the board common, right? So it's things like that. And what we call as a maturity model for AI is something that we help our enterprises understand is, hey, you are here, you want to get there, these are all the things you need to do. And I would say that most of the organizations are very early on in their journey, right? Because you got to get the foundation right, otherwise it's like you're building a castle on a sand.
And follow-up to that is, how do you control hallucinations or the errors that you compare? I'm sure if you deploy an agent, it can do a mistake. in a billing workflow, how do you control that piece?
Oh yeah, yeah. I think, like I mentioned earlier, it is making sure that your agents are very narrowly focused. Anything that is way broader, there are different ways how you can tie everything together and create an orchestrator to do all of that work. But you want to make sure that you first define a very narrow scope for what the agent should do. The second thing is many people discount the amount of testing that goes into it because everyone is anxious and eager to get it working and want to see it working. But the amount of testing that needs to happen, especially with agentic, should not be discounted.